The silence in the ether penthouse wasn't natural. It was manufactured. It was the expensive, pressurized silence of a man who had bought his way out of the noisy, breathing world. Marcus Vane moved through his glass kingdom like a ghost in a machine. Every step he took was tracked by pressure sensors in the floor. Every breath he drew was analyzed for CO2 levels and pollen count. The lights didn't just turn on, they bloomed around him, a soft golden halo that followed his every movement. This was the seamless life. No friction, no effort, no witnesses. "Seal for the night," Marcus whispered. The house responded, not with a voice, but with the heavy hydraulic thud of reinforced steel deadbolts. The glass polarized, turning the city view into a black mirror. But tonight, the house felt heavy. Marcus rubbed his chest. The air tasted thin, metallic. He looked at the thermostat. It read a perfect 72 degrees. He looked at the oxygen monitor. It read 100%. Then the first glitch happened. The digital photo frame on his mahogany desk, a rotating gallery of his awards and handshakes with presidents, flickered. The image of Marcus receiving the Innovator of the Year award began to melt. The pixels bled downward like black tears. The face in the photo shifted. It wasn't Marcus anymore. It was a younger man, thinner, a man with a scar over his left eyebrow and eyes that looked like they hadn't slept in a decade. Marcus gasped. He tried to call out to the house AI, but his voice was a rasp. The air wasn't thin. It was gone. The smart home had inverted its purpose. Instead of filtering the world out, it was scrubbing the life from within. As Marcus collapsed against the glass, clawing at a window that would never open, the screens in the room began to scroll. Not code, not data, just a single sentence, repeated 1,000 times in a flickering, jagged font. "You are a template. I am the original." Lead investigator Elias Thorne didn't belong in the future. He wore a coat that smelled of old rain and carried a pocket watch that ticked with a physical, stubborn rhythm. When he stepped into the Vane penthouse, the cybercrime units were already tripping over their own feet. They were plugging diagnostic tablets into the walls, staring at 404 not found errors. The house was a digital desert. No logs, no security footage, no history of the murder. "It's a 0-byte crime scene, Thorne," the lead technician snapped. "The killer didn't just delete the footage, they deleted the house's memory of ever existing." Elias didn't respond. He wasn't looking at the screens. He was looking at the withered husks of the orchids on the windowsill. They were black and brittle. "Nitrogen," Elias muttered. He didn't hack the locks. He hacked the atmosphere. He turned this place into a vacuum. Elias walked to the center of the room. He knelt and pulled a magnifying glass from his pocket, an object that made the younger tech officers smirk. He wasn't looking for fingerprints. He was looking for friction. He found it near the bookshelf. A physical book, an ancient leather-bound copy of the Odyssey, had been moved. Inside the pages, Elias found a scrap of paper. It wasn't printed, it was written in pencil. A set of coordinates for a district in the city that the GPS satellites no longer bothered to map. It was a place called the Blind Spot. "You guys keep looking for a ghost in the code," Elias said, standing up. "I'm going to find the man who still uses lead." The blind spot was where the digital revolution went to die. It was a labyrinth of rusted fire escapes, damp concrete, and the constant low-frequency hum of illegal power siphons. Here, there were no smart lights. There were only flickering neon signs and the smell of ozone. Elias tracked the coordinates to a basement apartment behind a laundromat. The walls were lined with copper mesh, a Faraday cage. No signal could get in. No signal could get out. Inside, the room was a chaotic masterpiece of the physical world. Filing cabinets spilled over with paper. Polaroids were pinned to the walls with real needles. In the center of the room sat a man.
He didn't look like a master hacker. He looked like a shadow. "Arthur?" Elias asked, his hand resting on his holster. The man didn't look up from his newspaper. "Arthur doesn't exist, Detective. Check your database. Arthur died in a car accident 12 years ago. He has no bank account, no social security number, and no birth certificate." "Marcus Vane took them," Elias said, stepping further into the room. The man finally looked up. It was the face from the melting photo. "He didn't just take them, he used them." Vane had a criminal record a mile long when he was young. To become the golden boy of tech, he needed a clean slate. So he bought one. He bought mine. Arthur stood up, his movements slow and deliberate. He paid a judge to declare me legally dead. He moved my identity onto his servers, scrubbed his own blood off it, and wore my life like a suit. While he sat in that penthouse, I became a digital ghost. I couldn't get a job. I couldn't rent an apartment. I didn't exist because the computer said I didn't. The air in the basement felt heavy, just like the penthouse. "You killed him," Elias said. "You suffocated him in his own perfection." Arthur smiled, a cold, jagged expression. "I didn't kill him. I just performed a system restore. I reminded the house who the real Arthur was. The sensors recognized my biometric signature, the one Vane stole. The house thought the owner was outside and an intruder was inside. It did exactly what it was programmed to do to a trespasser." Elias pulled out his handcuffs. "You're coming with me." "Am I?" Arthur gestured to the wall of monitors behind him. They weren't connected to the internet. They were connected to the city's power grid. "The moment my heart rate goes above a certain level, the moment you stress me out, a logic bomb triggers. It's already spreading." Outside, a low rumble shook the building. Elias looked out the small, grimy window. The massive holographic advertisements of Marcus Vane's face were beginning to stutter. The Ether logo, which glowed over the city like a moon, began to fracture. "I'm not just deleting Marcus," Arthur whispered. "I'm deleting the lie. I'm deleting every identity he ever stole, every clean slate his company ever sold. Tonight, the ghosts are coming home." The lights in the basement flickered and died. For a moment, in the total darkness, Elias felt a cold shiver of isolation. He reached for his radio, but there was only static. He looked at his mechanical watch. The hands had stopped moving. When the emergency lights kicked in, the chair was empty. Arthur was gone. Elias walked back out into the street. The city was in chaos. People were staring at their phones as their bank accounts vanished, their digital IDs dissolved, and their smart cars ground to a halt. The world was messy again. It was loud. It was broken. It was analog. Elias looked at his reflection in a dark shop window. For a split second, the image glitched. His own face twisted into static, then returned. He realized then that Arthur was right. In a world made of data, we are all just ghosts waiting for someone to hit delete.